day also. This recording will go on to this class will be recorded, and I'll put it on YouTube. And if you missed something, or if you have a doubt about something, you can go back and check it on YouTube. Let me remind you that for the time being, we have set aside the story of for strategic reasons, we have set aside the story of democracy and have started with the story of the evolution of the parliament. If you remember what I told you in the last class, the parliament comes from the word parliament, actually comes from the French word parler, which means to speak. Okay. I hope you remember the story of the evolution of the English language. I told you that the English language is an Indo-European language. And it's not just English, which is an Indo-European language. If you remember, I had told you that English, French, German, Hungarian, okay, Austrian, all these are basically Indo-European languages, which means that they share a root with the languages that have evolved even in India. Okay, and the story of English is that it's not just in its formation and evolution that it is an Indo-European language. It became almost a language which is Indian because it has, thanks to the British or the English people ruling us for so many years, it has become a language which has taken so many words from Indian languages, and especially Hindi and Urdu. Okay. For example, you have the word divan, D-I-V-A-N. A divan is supposed to be something on which you sit. This comes from Hindi, divan. आप दीवान पे बैठिए. Divan is a part of English, not our English. Divan is a part of the whole of the English everywhere in the world. And therefore, people now tell us that actually we should consider English as our native language, one of our native languages. Okay, we have many languages. Does anybody have an idea about how many languages we have? Anyone in India? Hmm? No, you can tell it to me. You don't have to. 24. Those are the official
Two,
languages.
sir. 22, sir, I guess.
Hmm. Yes, Shruti Nagpuri. You wanted to say 22? Your hand is up. Yeah, you can speak to me. You don't have to take recourse to this more than 100 languages. That is true. More than 100 languages is absolutely true.
Yes,
But
sir.
but how much more? It's actually more than 700 languages. Okay. More than 700 languages exist in India. They are called dialects. Let me put it down here. Does anybody know what a dialect is? Or why certain languages are called dialects? Anyone? Okay. A dialect is a language slang of the language. Can you tell me what is slang of the language? Hmm? No. You can speak Prushni Yadav. You don't have to write. Don't feel bad about giving a wrong answer. We all give wrong answers and learn the right answers. I don't know if you've ever noticed it. That is how we learn. Nobody learned everything and anything without making a mistake. So a language is something without a script. It's not informal language. You can have informal language like in Telugu or in Hindi, aap आइए हमारे घर. Informal language will be हमारे घर आओ ना. That is informal. No, that is not dialect. Dialect is a language which does not have a script. There are so many languages in India that do not have a script. Script is now being developed for various languages, which are dialects. That is why the number of languages, recognized languages, has gone up to 22. Okay, it has gone up to 22 because, uh, for example, Kurgi. Kurgi was a language which didn't have, was a dialect which didn't have a script, right? But people made a script for Kurgi by taking existing scripts. Okay, by taking existing scripts, and that's how you have the emergence of the Kurgi language instead of a dialect. Now people can write in Kurgi. The best example, however, is Sanskrit. For centuries, Sanskrit existed, and scholars, absolute scholars, were unlettered. Scholars like Veda Vyasa. Veda Vyasa is called Veda Vyasa because he organized the Vedas into four: the Rig Veda, the Yajur Veda, the Atharvana Veda, the Sama Veda, and the Atharvana Veda. So he came to be called the Veda Vyasa. Otherwise, his name is Krishna Dvaipayana. He's also supposed to be the author of the Mahabharata, and that is why Mahabharata is called the fifth Veda. That's a different issue. Let's not go there. But what I'm trying to tell you is Sanskrit didn't have a language. All transmission of words, all transmission of knowledge happened orally through word of mouth. Orally is through word of mouth. So the fascinating aspect, now that I've got here, I'll put the story of Parliament on hold for a couple of minutes and tell you this story of Sanskrit. Sanskrit, from its inception till today, it hasn't changed. Whereas, take a language like Telugu. Telugu is one of the classical languages. And a classical language has to be an old language, not just an old language, but a language which is older than Sanskrit. So, three languages from South India: Tamil, Telugu, and Kannada, are considered to be classical languages. They are considered to be classical languages because they predate Sanskrit. Similarly, in North India also, if I'm not mistaken, languages like Brajbhasha, Awadhi, okay, all these are those which are classical languages. They predate Sanskrit. But funnily, the South Indian languages had a script. The script that they had is that which is called the Brahmi script. It was derived out of the Brahmi script, Malayalam, incidentally, is not considered to be a classical language. Okay, it is considered to be a medieval and modern language. But to come back to the example of Telugu, Telugu, which started off as a classical language, and the classical Telugu is called Acha Telugu. This particular Telugu has now become 90% Sanskritized. 90% of Telugu is today Sanskritized. The formal Telugu that people speak, especially, is Sanskritized. Okay, and that is why if you read a Sanskrit shloka, it's not very difficult for you to understand the meaning and intent of the Sanskrit shloka because of the fact that Brahmi, I'm saying Brahmi, Telugu is a language which has become 90% Sanskritized. Malayalam is 95% Sanskritized. Okay, the least Sanskritized South Indian language is Tamil. It has not become non-Sanskritized, it has not remained non-Sanskritized, but it has become least Sanskritized, but it is also Sanskritized. And you will be shocked to know Latin. I was shocked. I thought Latin, like Sanskrit, was an old language. And I was shocked to know that Latin is Sanskritized. Shall I give you examples of how Latin is Sanskritized? In Sanskrit, mother is Mata. In Latin, mother is Mater. M-A-T-E-R, Mater. It was actually Mater. Similarly, father was Pita or Pitru. Matru, Pitru. In Latin, it is Pater. Okay, it is Pater. In Sanskrit, a brother is Bhrata. Brother, Bhrata. And this is all there in English. Mother, father, brother, they are all Sanskritized terms. So that is the reason why people would say that English today is a native language of India. They don't say it as a joke. And these are not uneducated people. These are people who are doing linguistics. Okay, these are all people who are doing linguistics, and they say these things. Anyway, so to get back to what we are supposed to be doing, which is the story of the parliament, I told you I'm setting aside the story of democracy because democracy is an abstract institution. Democracy is an abstract institution Whereas you look at parliament, there are buildings. Look at judiciary, there are buildings. So these are concrete. So that's not, originally they were not necessarily concrete, but over time they have become concrete. Now, if you basically look at English, the influences are many, I told you, because the English were also conquered by first the Vikings. So, but there isn't too much of evidence of there being uh, this this particular language, uh, you know, called Swedish being a part of English. There isn't so much. The Vikings also spoke another language called Suomi. And those who spoke Suomi are Finnish. Now, shut up, shut up. If you don't shut up, I will kill you. Hmm? Do you want me to beat you? Do you want me to beat you? Huh? Horrible dog. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. No sound from you. Stop it. I'm really sorry about this. I don't know what to do with these dogs. Yeah. So there is no evidence of too much of Swedish getting into English. Similarly, the Normans or the Norwegians, as we call them today, had also conquered England at one time, but we don't have evidence of Norwegian also in English. The French, who were called the Gauls, 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 they conquered England, and there are many words in English which are very much like French. They derive themselves from French. Only the pronunciation of those words is slightly different. Otherwise, the words are the same. But English has derived most of itself from German. I told you that is because of the Anglo-Saxons. The Anglo-Saxons were actually a tribe called the Anglas, A-N-G-L-E. Please don't read that as Angle. It is Angla. They were the people who were there. And these were the people who conquered England. And they came from a province in Germany, which was called Saxon Ring. The spelling is Sachsenring, Saxon Ring. They came from the Saxon Ring area. So in English, the spelling became Saxon, Saxon. So when you talk about the English people today, when you talk about their lineage, you call them Anglo-Saxon Protestants, because most of the people in England, more than 95% of the people in England, this is a story I'm going to tell you how more than 95% of the people in England have become Protestants. This I will tell you when I talk to you about the Protestant ethic, not now. Okay, so you can see that English has all these different influences. It has all these different influences, and therefore there are a number of words which are common to other languages as well. So parler in French is to speak. In English, a place to speak in French would become parlement. Okay, I'm using the new spelling. This is the new spelling, parlement. In the old spelling of this is this. Parlement. Okay, I don't know if you've seen, but even medieval, the spelling has changed. We write medieval today this way. Sorry. This is the spelling we use for medieval. The actual medieval spelling of medieval is this. That is the medieval spelling of, it was pronounced medieval. This is parliament. The old spelling stuck, but the pronunciation didn't change. In the case of medieval, of course, some people still write in England this old spelling, this medieval spelling, but otherwise the rest of the world, thanks to the Americans, we write medieval. Okay, so language itself is a very funny thing. One I would love to research. I do a lot of research into languages because it's exciting. You learn so much. You learn about the human race can be won from learning languages. Unlike having divisive tendencies which otherwise dominate our world, divisive tendencies dominate the world in terms of nation states, which is something we will be discussing in great detail in this course. And we will also be talking about other kinds of divisions. Telugus cannot live together with each other, so you divide yourself into Andhra, Andhra Pradesh, and Telangana. Whereas if you look into the words, if you look into evolution of languages, you will see how much is common between human beings from different parts of the world. How much is common? And that is why I really, really believe that there is only one race called the human race. Even today, despite it being proved as completely wrong, the Americans use nomenclatures like Caucasoid or Caucasian, Caucasian, Caucasian. A Caucasian is one who originated in the Caucasoid region of the world. Sorry, uh, Caucasus region of the world. They are called Caucasoid. Those who originated in Mongolia are called Mongoloid. That is another division that the Americans follow. Caucasian, Mongolian. Okay, and these are all now proved by anthropologists. They have been proved to be complete rubbish. They have been proved to be complete rubbish. They are not at all scientific. The black people were called Negroes and Negroid, okay, which is another rubbish thing to do. The reality, if you do anthropology, please read some books from anthropology. They are interesting. If you read books from anthropology, you will find out that there is only one race, and this race came out of Africa. It came out of Africa, but the human race, that is, before it became Homo sapiens, it went to different places from Africa, went through some transformations like the Neanderthal transformation in Europe. So it was Homo neanderthalensis in Europe. In India and Asia, it was Homo erectus. More than the rest of Asia, this is when India was a different island altogether. The Jambu Dvipa, when it was that, the people were called Homo erectus. Now, of course, everybody mated with everyone else, and what we have is Homo sapiens, which is one human race, right? And I really believe in that, especially if you look at the evolution of languages. Noam Chomsky, I don't know if you've heard of him. Noam Chomsky now has become a political writer, but he was originally a scholar of linguistics. And Noam Chomsky pointed out that the similarities of origins in terms of structures of language is the same all over the world. But we are deviating. Let's come back to the parliament. In English, we still write the medieval spelling of parliament, Parliament, parliament. So what was a parliament? It was a place meant to be uh, where people could speak. Now, does that mean you couldn't speak everywhere, anywhere? Does that mean that? It doesn't mean that. It has everything to do with the social structure of England. The social structure of England is what dictates the, what should I say, the idea of what speech is. You could speak to your father, you could speak to your mother, you could throw tantrums, you could do all these things. But the problem came in society. in feudal society. If you read Karl Marx, he gives us a pretty good idea of history. Okay, he gives us a pretty good idea of history. The first phase of the history of the human beings, Homo sapiens, is the hunter gatherer. I'm sure you've heard of this. Gatherer, fruits and all fall off. Okay, they fall off the trees. So you pick them up, you take them. That becomes the gatherer. You're gathering things that are fallen, or you're gathering by climbing up a tree. One fine example of that is a beehive. Okay, people climbed up trees, smoked the bees out, and took their, in the old days and even today, the tribals never take the entire hive. They don't take the entire hive. They take only a small part of the hive, because if you take the entire hive, then the bees don't come back. The honey bees, they don't come back. So to protect that from happening, they take only a part of the hive. So the bees return and rebuild it again. That is also gathering. Hunter is obvious. You kill an animal. Okay, that tells us that we were all non-vegetarian at some time. We were not all always vegetarians. We were also non-vegetarians. We ate meat when we hunted. People went and hunted, and people went in groups, hunted and brought back. This is primitive society in which there is no private property. But this, after this came the next society, which is what we are talking about today. Feudal society, in which there is private property. What is the private property? Private property is land and everything that grows on it. So people laid claim to, I'm telling you a long story very shortly. People laid, what should I say? They said, this land is my land, because they were mightier than the others. So those who were, what should we say? Those who were stronger, those who had greater might, those who could organize themselves into bands better, they went and occupied tracts of land and thus became owners of private property. And with this started divisions in society. The hunter-gatherer society is an equalitarian society. It's not as if there is someone who has, what should I say? It's not like someone has uh, land and is sitting there happily. He needs people to work on that land. So you have classes. Classes, please remember, are economic designations. The rich class, the poor class, the middle class. The middle class is neither too rich nor is it too poor. So these are classes. They came into being in the medieval period. And what we are discussing now is the medieval period. And in the medieval period, you will see that feudalism reigned in Europe. And because of feudalism, because of feudalism, we see that there are the propertied and the non-propertied, and also those who don't work and those who do. The landed class, they never worked. They only made people work and gave them wages. As feudalism grew, these things became a little complicated. I will tell them to you in your second semester of Western political thought, not here, not in this paper. I'm only talking about those things which are necessary for you to know in this particular paper. Okay, so it became a division in society, and as it grew complex, there were hierarchies. Even within the landed, you had the lords, you had the earls, you had the dukes, and so on. Now, these titles came by birth, and those who were born lords like these claimed, I told you the other day, that they have blue blood. For our interest, however, there was another kind of feudal lord. And who was this other kind of feudal lord? This other kind of feudal lord was one who was nominated by the king as CBE, MBE, and the highest rank was Sir. So we call our teachers Sir. In the staff room, unless you are very friendly with someone, we don't call each other by names. We call ourselves, how are you, sir? I'm fine, sir. We use sir like this. Foreign students who come to Usmania University and to Indian universities have a problem because sir is taken as, to call somebody sir is taken as an inferior notion. So if you go to America, for example, they don't call their teachers sir. They call them professor. They don't call them sir, they call them professor. And but we don't have a problem with that. We've made sir into a completely different word. It has evolved into a different word. But the original meaning of sir was that you were knighted. You became a knight. If you play chess, you have one of the pieces which is called knight, which is a horse. It's actually not a horse, but it's a man riding the horse. Who's the knight? The horse is the horse. The man riding the horse is the knight. He was very powerful. Okay. And then you also had another designation, Rook. Apart from CBE. CBE, these came a little later actually. Commander of the British Empire, member of the British Empire. But you also had rooks and knights, older things. And these people also took care of lands. So there were two kinds of lords. One were those who were lords by birth, and the second were those who were lords because the king made them lords. So how did the king make them lords? There was an elaborate ceremony. The king would take his sword. We say sword. The English cannot say sword like we do. They say sword, like it is S-O-R-D. That's the pronunciation. They take the sword. The man who's going to be knighted kneels down on his right knee. He kneels down on his right knee, and the sword is placed on, or rather, sorry, he kneels down. Yeah, he kneels down on his right knee, and the sword is put on his left shoulder. It is put on his left shoulder, and the king says, "Rise, you are now Sir Lancelot." It could be Sir David also, whatever. I thought of Lancelot because it's such a medieval sounding name. So you had two categories of feudal lords. One who were by birth, who claimed that they had blue blood. The others who were knighted. Now the son of a knighted person didn't become a feudal lord. If I am, for example, Sir Satish Chandra, I have a son, he doesn't become Sir so and so. He doesn't inherit the title. Okay? Whereas those who are lords, earls, dukes, all these people inherit the title. If my dad is a duke, then I become a duke. If my dad is an earl, then I become an earl. So that's why they claim that they had blue blood. So this is the feudalism. These people were trying to talk to the king. What were they trying to talk to the king about? They were trying to talk to the king about taxes and things like that. Why? Because the economy in the agrarian period is agricultural, as you know it. It is also artisan. Artisan meaning people who are craftsmen, carpenters, blacksmiths, uh, goldsmiths, all those kind of people. They were called artisans. And these artisans basically made various implements, tools of use for people. Taxation happened on agricultural production and also to a certain extent, it happened on, what should you say, taxation happened even on uh, the artisans made articles. The kings got used to a very high level of taxation, and they were not due to the fact that uh, there is what should I say, due to the fact that there is a sorry, I got distracted by some message that I got while I'm teaching. I'm getting messages. Horrible. Let me, yeah. If the kings got to high levels of taxation, but if there was famine, if there was something else, then the problem was that people couldn't pay that high level of taxation. But the kings insisted on the taxation, and the feudal lords wanted to talk to the kings about these. So they created the parliament. So please remember, in its origins, the parliament is not a legislature. If I ask you today, what is a parliament? A student who has done CEC will tell me that a parliament is a legislature. No, a parliament was not a legislature in its origins. In its origins, it was a feudal body. It was established, the first parliament, the British Parliament, was established in 1066 CE, but the king spoke to the feudal lords only when they submitted the Magna Carta. I'm sure you know the Magna Carta, the the mega charter of demands. This was submitted in 1215 CE. What is VR? I'm really sorry. 1215 CE, and that is when the king decided to speak to the parliament. Now, from then onwards, the king and the parliament have been friends sometimes, they have been enemies sometimes. I took a long class today. I'm sorry about it because I went with that English thing early on. I'm really sorry about it. Tomorrow I won't do it. Even though I'm not well, I thought I won't last, but adrenaline seems to have kept me going. So tomorrow, not tomorrow, tomorrow is Sunday. I don't want to trouble you on a Sunday. Monday evening, Monday morning, I'll meet you for Western political philosophy. But Monday evening, when we talk about histories of institutions, when we talk about the parliament, I will tell you the various stages where people in the parliament and the kings agreed with each other, and the stages where they disagreed with each other. You'll have to know a lot of British history. You'll also have to know a lot of British constitutional history to understand this whole paper. But as long as you attend my classes, you will get the information. You will get the full information, so you have nothing to worry about. So thank you very much for being patient. Yeah, somebody wants to say something? You can say something. You can say, you're such a bore. You're a nuisance. You're a pain. Oh, Prishni says thank you. Thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So I'll see you
Thank you,
on.
sir.
Thank you. So I'll see you in the evening for this class and see you in the morning. I'm sorry I didn't come yesterday, but I was really unwell yesterday and I was not in a position to come at all. And so I shall see you, but Monday I'll definitely come and we shall have a class on Monday morning on Western political thought. Okay. Thank you. Good night.